Hello Nintendo Wii here. 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 Hello, welcome back to Retro Break. Hello, welcome back to Retro Break. I'm really excited for this video. It's the end of a decade, it's been an amazing 10 years, and for the first time ever, I'm actually old enough now to look back at the beginning of the decade and remember it in detail, and also thanks to the rise of websites like Facebook, Twitter, and even here on YouTube, I've got the whole 10 years documented. So please stick with me in this video, it's going to be a long one, and it's going to be a very personal look at the past 10 years of my life, my favourite games that I've played during the years, my favourite memories, everything that's led me up to where I am today. So I really hope you enjoy this in-depth look at everything that's made the past 10 years amazing. Thank you all so much for watching, enjoy. So looking back on it now, I feel like 2010 was a very important year for me. I started the year off in my second year of college studying game design. I say studying very loosely, it was more like just me sitting around all day, goofing off, chatting with friends and playing on the DS all day, but that's kind of beside the point. I did do a little bit of work and I did play a lot of games. And also at the start of this year I released a video on YouTube called my top 15 DS games. Hello Nintendo Wii here. Today I'm going to be doing my top 15 DS games. Gorgeous graphics, they're brilliant. The gameplay is really good as well and it's a very long game. Next up is Disgaea for the DS. It's the same as the PS2 and the PSP. And it's by far my most watched video on YouTube. Still to this day it's my most watched video. I think possibly because at the time there wasn't that many people showing off their collections, whereas if I was to release the same video today it might get a few hundred views, but back then it somehow managed to get 250,000 views, which is insane, and it really marked the start of my YouTube journey. As well as that, I did play a lot of games back then. Like I said, I played the DS a lot, but I also played the Wii a lot as well. One game I remember being incredibly excited about was Super Mario Galaxy 2 that came out that summer. It came out just before I finished college and I remember playing it all summer. And I didn't actually manage to fully complete it until a few years later at uni. But I'll get to that when I get to maybe 2011 or 12. It's definitely one of my favourite games of all time and it's definitely a highlight of the year for me. Another really exciting memory from 2010 is my birthday that year. My parents were really kind and managed to get me a complete in-box copy of Chrono Trigger for the SNES, which is definitely one of my favourite games of all time. So I was just super excited to be able to play that on the original system. The number one game I've played this year for the SNES is, of course, the one and only Chrono Trigger. People are right to say that this is one of the best RPGs of all time. It really is. So when I finished college and went off to uni, I went there to study portable game programming, which I thought meant that I'd eventually be able to make a game for my favourite system, the Nintendo DS. Unfortunately, the programming was way too hard for me to get my head around at the time and I really couldn't do it. I was actually getting kind of depressed at the time, so I ended up quitting the programming course and swapping instead onto a game design course. Looking back today, I don't really know whether that was the right decision or not, but at the time I really couldn't get my head around it. I don't think I was in the right frame of mind to properly dive headfirst into the programming world, which is kind of ironic considering today I spend a lot of my time programming at work. But even so, my first year at uni was a lot of fun. I made a lot of new friends, it was my first time living away from home, and of course I made a lot of videos on YouTube as well. If you've been watching my channel and stuff, you'll know that I've moved to university recently. So here's a quick tour of my room at uni. Here's the room, it's a bit of a mess. As you can see, controllers everywhere. I've brought the N64 with me, the Wii, PS2 and PS1, which is down there. And I've got my laptop, got a PSP, DS. Overall, 2010 was a fantastic year and I played a lot of great games. here's a clip from a video that I made at uni for one of the games that I was very, very excited to get that year. Anyway, here's my belated review of Sonic Colors. Hope you enjoy it, thanks for watching. Sonic Colors for the Wii, much better than Sonic 4, which has just been released. So if you have a Wii and you want a fast-paced platforming game, definitely go for Sonic Colors. It's probably the best Sonic game on the Wii, and one of my favourite games that I've played in quite a while. So before I move on to 2011, I just want to mention a few of my favourite games from that year. Sowa to Robo on the DS was a huge surprise for me. I didn't even know that this game was really coming out, or the fact that it was a sequel to a PS1 title called Taon Concerto, I think. I've never actually played that one, but Sowa to Robo is an amazing game. If you ever get the chance to play it, definitely go and track down a copy. I think it's getting kind of hard to find, but if you like 3D action adventure platformers with really nice graphics, highly recommend that one. Another game that's really unique is Fragile Dreams Farewell Ruins of the Moon for the Wii. I didn't actually play this until the year after it came out, but because it was released in 2010, I figured I should include it in this section. It's a really great atmospheric RPG for the Wii. I really recommend it. I haven't played it in years, so I can't remember it that well, but I do remember being fully engrossed in the game. The characters, the story, the world, everything about the game I thought was fantastic. And like I just showed in that video, Sonic Colors was one of my favourite games of the year as well. In fact, in another video on YouTube, I actually said it was better than Mario Galaxy 2. People might be a bit shocked at this. No, I haven't picked Super Mario Galaxy. It is Sonic Colors, my Nintendo Wii game of the year. There's a review on my channel for this if you want to go and have a look at that. But looking back now, I'd actually say that Mario Galaxy 2 is my favourite game from that year. Now let's take a look at the next year, 2011. Nintendo Wii now has a PS3 as well. 2011 also marked the year where I first got a PlayStation 3, and I absolutely loved it. I did already have an Xbox 360, but having the exclusives that the PS3 had, they were just so much more interesting for me, and I absolutely love the system. It's probably my favourite PlayStation. One of the games that I was really excited to play on it was Child of Eden, which of course is made by the legendary Tetsuya Mizuguchi, who I did a video on at the start of this year, 2019, not 2011. So yeah, I was really excited to get my PS3, and of course, you'll see many PS3 exclusives coming up later in this video. So 2011 was quite a difficult year for me. Like I said in 2010, I was on a course that I didn't quite understand, but looking through my Twitter history now, I was taking a look at my tweets from 2011, and it seems like the reason I didn't do very well is because I spent all my time watching anime, so whose fault is that? There were a few really exciting things that happened this year though. For one, the 3DS was finally released, and I actually got to play it a few months early at Telford MCM back in February that year. I was super excited because, as you know, the DS is one of my favourite systems of all time, so when I had a chance to play its successor before it was released, I was completely blown away by it. The 3D effect was amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Satoru Iwata.
Everyone, this is Nintendo 3DS.
There were a few things though that had me kind of worried. The name didn't really differentiate itself enough from the DS that came before it, and the launch lineup didn't look that strong. When I did get it, I was very excited of course, and I got Pilotwings 3D. Unfortunately though, I completed it just a few days after I got it 100%, and the rest of the time on the 3DS, for most of that year actually, I spent playing Pokemon White on the DS, which I absolutely loved, but unfortunately the 3DS kind of makes the original DS games look a little bit blurry, so... But I didn't let it get to me too much, and I still did really like the 3DS. It did pick up towards the end of the year though, thanks to games like Mario Kart 7, Ocarina of Time 3D, and Dead or Alive 3D, which I played quite a lot as well. Apart from the DS, the Wii was also still going really strong. I remember I was on holiday during the summer with my parents, and while I was away, Xenoblade Chronicles got released. And I just remember after that point completely not caring about the holiday and just wanting to get back home in time to play Xenoblade Chronicles. I was really, really obsessed with it when it came out. Absolutely loved the game. It's still to this day one of my favourite games of all time. This year as well, while I was trying to avoid doing all my uni work, I became completely obsessed with the anime and the visual novel Clannad. I played this game to death, way over 100 hours in it. In fact, if you've ever played the game before, you might know that when you get to a choice, it's kind of a good idea to save the game there and then you can go back to it and take the other route if necessary. I actually maxed out all 99 save slots for this game. That's how obsessed I was with it. And I'd really like to get it on the Switch actually. I know it's got re-released on there, but fingers crossed Limited Run comes out with a physical version at some point in the future. But yeah, if you've never watched or played Clannad before, definitely recommend it. It's by far my favourite anime and by far my favourite visual novel too. And of course I also went back to London MCM and picked up a lot of really cool things there.
What is your favourite Zelda game and why?
My favourite Legend of Zelda game is Twilight Princess. I like the fact that you can turn into an animal and run around as well, that's really cool. And I like Vidna as the companion, much better than Navi.
Hey, listen!
And made quite a few videos on YouTube, although not as many as I would have liked because I was kind of busy at uni, maybe not doing exactly what I was supposed to be. And at the end of 2011 I finally admitted to my teacher that I just wasn't getting on with programming, and they actually allowed me to swap over to the game design course, and I went back a year. So in 2012, which is coming up next, I actually went back to year 1 of uni, so I was basically a year older than everyone else that was already there, which was kind of weird considering I'd already made all my friends in the first year while I was there, but yeah, I picked it all up as I went along. So that was it for 2011, kind of a strange year for me. So as for my games of the year in 2011, like I said, I was obsessed with Pokemon White. I also really loved Mario Kart 7, Ocarina of Time 3D, Xenoblade Chronicles, that was almost my number 1, but not quite. I also loved Child of Eden, Kirby's Epic Yarn was really fun as well, and of course I was obsessed with Clannad. But there is a game that I haven't mentioned yet, but it was one that I was super excited for. I'd managed to avoid all spoilers for the games. I had left the room at E3 when the trailers came on for it. The only time I caught a glimpse of the game is when I went to see the Zelda Symphony in London that year, which was absolutely incredible, by the way, and it was also the first time ever that someone actually came up to me and recognised me from YouTube, which was just incredible. I can't remember who it was now, but thank you so much for that. It really meant a lot to me at the time. Of course, the game I'm talking about, and one of my favourite games of all time now, Zelda Skyward Sword. It's kind of a controversial game, and some people love it, some people hate it. I absolutely love it. I really think it's one of the best Zelda games ever. I really do.
No, you actually licked it. No, Tendo, don't lick the lens.
Comes the Tendo! Dramatic music.
Tendo!
My name is Nick, Tendo Wii.
Where are you?
I'm at Gamescom.
Who's not here?
2012 was an amazing year. It was the first time I ever went to Gamescom in Germany, and it was really exciting. It was so much bigger than any event that I'd been to before. I got to play the Wii U half a year before it officially came out. Nintendo themselves weren't actually at the event, but Ubisoft were, and I got to play ZombiU before it came out, and I was absolutely in love with the game from the moment I saw it. I thought it was really cool, and I was not disappointed when I got to play it on launch day either. As well as the Wii U at Gamescom, I also got to meet Charles Martinet for the first time as well, the voice of Mario. So that was really exciting. As well as that, a few months earlier in the year at Telford MCM once again, I got to meet Hironobu Sakaguchi, the game designer for Chrono Trigger, like I mentioned earlier, and he was kind enough to sign it here and shake my hand. There's a picture of it here. Don't question the hair, I was dressed up as Gary from Pokemon, so that's why I look like that, which was kind of disappointing because I wanted to meet him as me, not as a character, but I was really excited to meet him. I remember lining up in the queue, my heart was pounding. I think it was the first time I'd ever felt kind of starstruck, it really was. Like how people get, I suppose, when they meet the famous actors and things, it was the same for me when I met the designer for Chrono Trigger. He was actually there to promote his new game, Last Story, on the Wii, which turned out to be a fantastic game that not a lot of people have played, so I definitely recommend giving it a go if you've got a Wii or a Wii U and you want a really cool action RPG by the creator of Final Fantasy. So highly recommend Last Story, and he seemed like a really nice guy as well. When I showed him this box, he said he'd never seen one in such good condition before, so that was really exciting. So that's not just a highlight of the year, that's a highlight of the decade for me. Absolutely amazing moment. And the rest of the year, games-wise, for me, was mostly the 3DS. I've picked out 3 games here that I really enjoyed in 2012. Finally, Kid Icarus Uprising came out. This was the first game that they ever showed off on the 3DS back at E3 2010, I think, so I'd been waiting 2 long years to get this game, and it definitely lived up to all my expectations. I still think it's one of the most unique games that Nintendo's ever made. I love the gameplay. I know some people complain about getting hand cramps, but that was never really a problem for me. I thought the controls were really cool. The story was brilliant, the way the characters interact with each other. Just a fantastic game overall, and I really hope they make a sequel at some point in the future.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
That's the miracle of light. But I can only maintain it for 5 minutes. After that, your wings will burn up and you'll fall.
As well as that, I was also really excited for the release of Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance. As a huge fan of the Kingdom Hearts series, I picked this one up on day one, and just like Kid Icarus Uprising, I was not disappointed. Really loved this game. I didn't like it quite as much as 358 over 2 days for the DS though, which is my favourite game in the series. And one more game that I wanted to show here, New Super Mario Bros. 2. It's one of my favourite 2D Mario games ever. I got completely obsessed with the coin rush mode in this, and so did everyone else that I was friends with at uni at the time. We were all taking it in turns to try and get the best score in the levels and passing our scores around to other people, which was really fun. It does help with a game like this with high scores if you've got a group of friends that are also interested in playing it as well. It really had a nice bit of community around it, so I really love New Super Mario Bros. 2. It's my favourite game in the New Super Mario Bros. Series and one of my favourite games on the 3DS. And then of course at the end of the year the Wii U was finally released, and I'd actually got a really nice new TV to go along with it. And when it came out, I picked up 3 games at launch from an amazing independent game shop in Stafford called Shogun, which was called Chips back then, and they were so amazing that they actually let me buy the system a day early. They let me come back after they'd shut the shop up and pick it up, and then the next morning they posted it on Facebook saying I was the first person that got the system, so I was absolutely blown away that they did that for me. I was not expecting it at all, and the only reason I'm telling you guys now is because the shop's actually closed down, and I was really worried about letting anyone know that for a long time in case they got shut down or told off by Nintendo or something. But even so, I was really amazed, and I don't think I slept that night at all. I was way too busy playing Zombie U, Nintendo Land of course, and the other game that I picked up was Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing Transformed, I think that's what it's called. So these 3 games lasted me quite a while, but as I'm sure you know, the Wii U had a kind of slow start, and it wasn't really until halfway through 2013 or 2014 that things really picked up with the system. So for 2012, if I was to pick one game that really summed the year up for me, I don't know, it's kind of difficult this year. I'd say probably the most unique game and the one that I enjoyed the most. Kind of a controversial choice because I know a lot of people don't really like this game much, but I thought it was really fantastic at the time. My game of the year for 2012 goes to Zombie U.
It's an amazing year for Luigi, of course, and we're going to take a look back
2013 was once again another fantastic year. I went back to Gamescom that year and I met Hideki Kamiya, the director of Bayonetta, Resident Evil 2. He was there to advertise his new game Wonderful 101, which I think is a brilliant game. Also that year, a game came out that I've been looking forward to for many years. That was Pikmin 3. Definitely my favourite game of the year in 2013. I actually did a full review of it on my channel, which was quite surprising at the time. I didn't really do that many reviews, but I loved this game so much I just had to tell everyone about it. I can safely say it is an excellent game, as good as or possibly better than the other two. And back at uni as well, 2013 was the year that I really felt a lot more comfortable at uni. I felt like I was getting into my groove with the game design and production course. I was starting to understand things like the Unreal Engine and Unity. Unfortunately, I've lost a lot of the programs because I would have loved to show you some of the games. I do have some screenshots, but they don't really get across what you were trying to do in the game, but it is kind of interesting to see where I got my start in the game development space. Also that year, there was of course a few distractions that stopped me getting really good marks at uni. Games like Animal Crossing New Leaf on the 3DS, that was something I was really excited about. I've always been a huge fan of the Animal Crossing series right since I played the very first one on the GameCube at GameStars Live back in 2004 or 3. So ever since that day I've been a huge fan of the Animal Crossing series. This one was another fantastic entry in the series and I can't wait for the Switch one next year as well. And also that year I told you I'd be talking about a few PS3 games. Of course I was a huge fan of the Tomb Raider revival on the PS3 and Xbox 360. Absolutely loved this game. I remember staying up all night to play it. Really great game. 2013 was the first time that Mario had a proper 3D platformer since Mario Galaxy 2. It was Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U and I absolutely loved it. I love this special edition box as well. It's quite funny, I actually went to pick this game up on midnight because it came out the same day as the PlayStation 4, and one of my friends at uni went to pick the PS4 up at midnight and I joined him in the queue outside game at midnight, and when I got to the counter I asked the guy for Mario 3D World instead of a PS4 and he just laughed at me, but he did go and get it for me, so that was very nice of him. And the surprising thing is, the next day me and my friend actually played more Mario Land than we did the actual PS4 itself, so a fantastic game, and it didn't let the PS4 overshadow it either. Absolutely love this game. Another game that came out in 2013 that took everyone by surprise. I don't have the PS3 version anymore, but I've got the PS4 version here. Of course, I'm talking about The Last of Us. What an incredible game this is. Absolutely blew me away when I first played it. It blew everyone away, I think, and it's still one of the best games ever made. And I can't wait for the sequel, Last of Us 2, which is coming out next year, fingers crossed.
Every shot counts. You see, I believe everything happens for a reason.
But like I said, for my game of the year 2013, I have to give that to Pikmin 3. And I really can't wait for the sequel. It's been a long time. So fingers crossed in 2020 we hear something about Pikmin at least. Now 2014, and something really fun to start the year off. We did a cosplay group at Telford MCM for The Evil Within, which is a game that came out that year. I had a lot of fun doing this. There's some really great photos online, so I'll put some of these over the screen now. The game itself was really fun as well. We actually went to something called a game lock-in, which means that we went to the game shop in Birmingham and they actually kept the shop open after closing time, and we all went and played The Evil Within before it was released, so that was really fun. And the game turned out to be really good as well, and I really liked the sequel too. 2014 was also my final year of uni, and I really feel like I got in my groove this year. I did some really good work, I think anyway. I was the lead designer on a really fun group project, and we ended up coming up with a game called Plunderbus, which was sort of a Mega Man style game set in space. I've got a video of it on YouTube, so I will play the trailer now and let me know what you guys think. I had a lot of fun working on this. And as well as that, I also worked on my final year project, which was insanely big. My tutor actually said that he'd never seen a dissertation that long before. It was so long he actually had to split it in two, and I got completely obsessed with working on it. Thanks to games like To the Moon and making friends with people like Laura Shigihara and Ken Gao on their forums, and I just completely got obsessed with the whole RPG Maker, storytelling, visual gameplay design, just everything about it. And the game I came up with was one called Quantum Shift, and it's still actually available to play online, so I'll put a link in the description so you can go and check it out if you want. I was considering carrying on working on it after uni, but I decided against it because I had a few other plans which I'll get to later on in this video. And as for games, in 2014, it was a great year for the Wii U. We had games like Smash Brothers for Wii U, and of course for the 3DS, but the Wii U one is the one that people really care about, and I absolutely loved it. Not my favourite Smash Bros game, it's a bit light on single player content, but it's definitely really good, and you can see the influence that it had on Smash Bros Ultimate on the Switch as well. Also that year we finally got Bayonetta 2, which is an amazing action game. Like I said, I met Hideki Kamiya the year before, and I was really excited to get this, and it lived up to all my expectations. Of course, there was also Mario Kart 8, which also has a Switch version, just like Bayonetta 2. My favourite Mario Kart game by far out of the entire series. Really love everything they did in this game, and I don't really know how they're going to top it when they get around to making Mario Kart 9. And my favourite game of the year by far, that was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It had been about 4 years I think since the last Donkey Kong Country game, and Retro Studios absolutely blew it out of the park with this one. Fantastic game, one of my favourite 2D platformers of all time. So after I finished uni and before I started my job, I did something I never thought I would do. I went to Japan with my girlfriend for 2 weeks, and I had the time of my life, I really did.
中央line, the Tokaido line, the Yokosuka line.
So I really hope you enjoyed looking at that. If you want to see all the videos from Japan from 2014, I've got a playlist on my channel, so I'll link that in the description. And I did go back there a few years later as well, for a whole month that time. And I'm also going there early next year as well, so I can't wait for that. And I'm going to take this nice new camera I've got with me as well and get some amazing footage. So I really hope you look forward to that next year. 2015 was kind of a difficult year for me, but I feel like it was one where I did a lot of growing as a person. It was my first full year of work, and truth be told, it did take me a long time to adjust, because for all the years prior to that I'd always been around other people with the same interests. So when I left all that behind to go and start work at a big company, and there was so many different people, I didn't really know how to interact very well with people, if that makes sense. So it was kind of awkward for quite a while, and because I was there as a graduate, they didn't always have work for me to do, so there was a lot of downtime as well, and I was getting quite down about the whole thing. But I changed my mindset about having a lack of work, and I actually spent that time coming up with new ideas to share with you guys on YouTube, to set up my own website, and to start my own game company, which is something we'll come back to again and again throughout the rest of this video. So the year wasn't entirely wasted, but I feel like from a work point of view they could have done a lot more for me, but I made the most of the time that I had, and I definitely learnt a lot along the way as well. So some exciting things that happened in the gaming world in 2015 We first started hearing rumours about the Nintendo NX, which would go on to become the Switch, something that I was very, very excited about, and of course there was a few good Wii U games that came out that year as well. I've picked 3 of my favourites here. Mario Maker, of course, that one turned out to be an absolute classic, and the sequel Mario Maker 2 only just came out. Absolutely loved making my own levels in this game and sharing them with my friends. Xenoblade X, a sequel to my favourite RPG, possibly my favourite RPG of all time. This game was absolutely mind-blowing at the time, and a really nice memory I have of this. Me and my girlfriend used to play it at the same time, so we'd set up both our TVs next to each other and play it, and we actually played it all the way through to the end, side by side. Over 100 hours we put into this game and absolutely loved every minute of it. Fantastic game. Saving the best till last, this game is just amazing. Game of the year. Xenoblade Chronicles X. The original Xenoblade on the Wii is one of my favourite games of all time, and this doesn't quite get close to the massive scale of the story and the characters in Xenoblade Chronicles, but on its own, as a standalone game, if you don't think of it as a Xenoblade game, just so much to this game. Definitely recommend it. More than 100%, 1000%. And of course, 2015 was also the release of Splatoon, which turned out to be an incredible first-party Nintendo title, and I have a really exciting story to go along with it. Before the game was released in-game, they had one of the cardboard standees, and I'm friends with the manager in that store, and he very kindly let me take that standee away. I don't know where it is now, but somewhere in this house, or maybe at my parents' house, there's a big Splatoon standee somewhere. And I got completely obsessed with this game as well. I got all of the amiibos. That's something else that started becoming popular this year, and I probably spent way too much money on them. And towards the end of 2015, some other exciting things happened. I started working on my very own game. Here's some very, very early gameplay of what became Super Donuts, my first ever fully released and finished game that was released for iOS and Android. That's because I'm actually working on a game, which some of you may know already, some of you may not know. If you follow my alt account on Twitter, Nintendo Wii U, I'm actually posting updates there if you want to go and take a look. And now I'll actually show you a bit of what I've been working on. So here we go, the game is called Super Donuts, and it's a platformer without a jump button. I know it sounds a bit strange, but I'll show you how it works. We go to level 1, I'll show you how to play. So, save the donuts. There's only 2 buttons in the entire game. There's move left and move right. And basically you traverse the environment by building up speed. Like I just managed to pick up that baby donut in the corner by getting enough speed to jump over that ramp there. So these are all just practice levels at the moment. I'm basically just testing out what I'm actually able to make. And that year as well, I also got my first Apple Mac, the iMac that I'm using today to edit these videos on. It's done really, really well over the past 5 years, and it's still going strong. It's by far the best computer I've ever had. And for Christmas that year, something else that I almost forgot about, I got a Vectrex, which I was really, really excited about. I did a video, of course, because I was so excited about the Vectrex, so have a look at what I thought of it. I'm very, very excited today to be showing you guys the Vectrex. A system I've been after for a very, very long time now. I've finally managed to pick one up today from that game shop that I talked about in the last video called Entertainment World. Once again, I didn't take any video of the actual shop, so here's a bit of footage that I took a while ago. They're so good there, they've got everything you could possibly want, and they even managed to find the box for me, so I could not be happier at the moment. So I thought first thing I should do was make a video about it, of course. Really, really, really happy that I've managed to get myself a Vectrex finally. Now I've just got to find somewhere to put the damn thing. Thanks for watching, see you next week. So that was it for 2015, kind of a strange year for me, but it's one that I feel like I grew a lot as a person, and let's see how I took all that forward into 2016. So 2016 was kind of a strange year for me. I'd come to the end of the grad scheme at work and I had to find a full-time job. Luckily I managed to find one there without too much trouble, and amazingly they actually let me have a month off in between finishing the grad scheme and starting in my new position. So I took the opportunity to have a whole month in Japan, which was absolutely amazing, and this time I made sure to go and get loads of video to put on YouTube. I think I did a fantastic job, especially on my tour of Akihabara. It's still one of my most watched videos today. Hello, Nintendo Wii here. I'm very excited to say that tomorrow I'm going to Japan. I can't wait, it's going to be so much fun. We've got so much planned. Welcome to the Gamer's Guide to Akihabara. Let's go shopping. So first up on the list, I think we'll go and check out Trader. That's one of the best shops I've found so far. So the first shop we have here is called Trader. There's actually 3 different traders in Akihabara. The one you want to go to is the first one and go up to the second floor. That's where all the retro games are. They had loads of retro systems to choose from. They had loads of N64 and Super Famicom games, and a whole load of Sega Saturn and Dreamcast too. Although I wasn't actually looking for Saturn and Dreamcast games this time. But if you do want to look for Saturn games, this is definitely the place to come. Oh, Sega Saturns are heavy. I was thinking of bringing one back.
Well, I got the extra suitcase just for this.
Peace Engine shots all over. I really loved everything about it again. Like I said earlier, I love everything about Japan, and I can't wait to go again next year and update some of them videos and make some new ones. Also in 2016 I focused a lot more on YouTube. I started doing a series called Retro Gamer Week, which didn't last very long. The idea originally was to do it for 52 weeks in a row and then make a book about all the games I'd showed off, but that never came to fruition. But never mind, doing a weekly video did set me up for what I'm doing now, and it made me realise just how short of amount of time a week is when you're recording, editing, filming, and I don't know how I managed to do it that long, and I have no idea how I've managed to do it this long. I've been doing weekly videos now for the past 2 years, which is just insane. Games-wise, in 2016 though, it was kind of a dry year, for new games at least. I'm sure I played loads of retro games, but as for new games, there was only really 2, on consoles at least, that really interested me. And unfortunately, one of them was a bit of a dud. It was Star Fox Zero for the Wii U, which, as I'm sure you know, didn't exactly turn out to be the game that everyone hoped it would be. It's okay, I don't mind it, but it is really disappointing, and I don't really see it as a true Star Fox sequel either, so bit of a shame. And the only other game that I really got that year in terms of new games was Uncharted 4 for the PS4, which I did enjoy a lot more than Star Fox Zero. But I've been thinking, and actually my game of the year for 2016 isn't either of those games, it's actually one for mobiles, and it's one that I still play today, that is Pokemon Go. I know it's kind of a strange choice, but it's definitely a game that stuck with me throughout the years since. I actually made a really fun video while I was in Japan, which was me playing Pokemon Go trying to find a Farfetch'd, which is one of the exclusive Pokemon in the region. So enjoy a quick look at that video, and like I said about all the other ones, I'll put a link in the description to the full thing, in case you want to go and check it out. We're here in Utsubo Park, we're looking for a Farfetch'd. Let's go Pokemon hunting. Someone put one down here. There is a Magikarp nearby. I don't see a park.
No, mate. I just see some trees. Maybe they built over it since.
No, let's see what it is. It's going to take more than that.
I hope it doesn't flee.
Going for it. Come on.
Alright, we're an Ultra Ball. Did you go for a berry as well?
Yep. Yes, got him! I can't believe it, we spent so long looking for him in the park and we found him in the train station.
Yay! Registered.
So in 2016, as well as going to Japan, as well as finishing my job, I'd also started working properly on my own game, Super Donuts, and it had come a long way since I'd initially come up with the idea in 2015. I actually kept a record of my progress while I was making it, so there is a playlist down below if you want to go and see the step-by-steps. Yeah. So I've been working pretty hard on my game called Super Donuts, and I just wanted to show you guys some of the progress that I've made. So at the moment I've got 4 worlds with actual levels in, and a further 2 to go. So we have a training level here, which is very simple. It just explains what you need to do throughout the game. Really, really simple. This one's a little bit different. I'll zoom in a bit. You see that switch there? When you press that, it actually turns the fan off. And when it was released the year after, I actually did a 2-hour walkthrough of the entire game, developer's commentary and everything. And that's something I'll get to when we talk about 2017, so let's get straight into it. 2017 was such an amazing year for many, many different reasons. Of course, it was the release of the Switch early in that year in March, I think, but also, more importantly for me, it was the release of my own game, Super Donuts. A few months before release, I took it to Telford MCM, which was unfortunately the last ever time that MCM was in Telford. And I actually demoed the game and it got a really good reception, and it really kicked me into gear to finish the game off that year. As well as that, not only was the Switch released, my own game released, I also graduated from the grad scheme at work and went into my first full-time position. I also moved into my own house that year, which was super exciting for me. It was the first time where I could properly call somewhere my own, and it was just amazing. I'm still here today. I found a picture on Facebook of when I just moved in, and you can see it's changed slightly over the years. And games-wise as well, 2017 was one of, if not the best year so far. I've picked out just a few games from that year and I'm going to go through them and say why they mean so much to me. So first of all, Metroid Samus Returns for the 3DS. Not my favourite Metroid game, there are a few things that I wish they'd done differently, but even so, to get a new Metroid game after waiting so long was amazing. I really do need to go back and complete it because I haven't actually finished it. There's just something about the controls that I find a little bit awkward, but even so, it was great to finally see a new Metroid game again. I can't wait for Metroid Prime 4. And of course, as 2017 was the year of the Switch, I was eagerly anticipating the release. I just wanted to share some quick first impressions of the Nintendo Switch. I was lucky enough to get a ticket to go to an event in Birmingham on the weekend. It was really great. I got to play loads of games. I got to play ARMS, which I thought was really, really good. The controls are really responsive compared to Wii Sports Boxing or something like that. And after that, I wasn't sure if I actually wanted to play this game or not, but I went to play The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I only got to play it for about 10 minutes, and that has to be the fastest 10 minutes of my entire life. I won't spoil it, but I think it was right at the start of the game because you actually have to equip Link's clothes. You find them in the treasure chest. And I just managed to get outside, speak to some old guy, and that was it, the demo was over. They did let me in the demo actually take the Switch out of the dock and play it in handheld mode, and the transition was seamless. You literally take it out of the dock and it comes straight up on the screen, which is fantastic, exactly how I hoped it would be, to be honest. But unfortunately, I did something a little bit silly. I actually ordered it from the Nintendo website rather than picking up in store. So while I went to the midnight launch with my friend, I actually only picked up some games while I was there. So at midnight, I picked up Super Bomberman R and 1-2 Switch. Not the best games ever, but I was very excited for a new Nintendo system, so I picked these two up anyway. And I had the system and Breath of the Wild turning up in the post the next day. So of course I woke up bright and early the day after, sat in front of the door waiting for the postman to come to give me the Switch, and it felt like an eternity. But it finally turned up, and I invited my friend Jack round and we played 1-2 Switch and Super Bomberman R together. This time, once again, I'm with Jack, RP Gamer, and we're going to be playing 1-2 Switch. So, enjoy us making fools of ourselves. Thanks for watching. Oh no, that was me. Yeah, that was me.
The lamp's there.
Get it!
No!
No, I
got it.
What?
Yes! No, how did that happen? Oh. And then once he left, of course I got stuck into Breath of the Wild, which I thought was amazing. Oh, look what's just come through the post. Oh my god, it's Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And an awesome t-shirt to go with it. So excited. I've been waiting for this game for so long. I've avoided all the trailers. I have hardly any idea what to expect. I did play the demo for a few minutes the other day at the Switch launch event, but let's get this thing opened up and see what's inside. Okay, here we go. So first of all, we have a soundtrack. Zelda Breath of the Wild sound selection. Very nice. And here it is, my first ever look at a proper Switch game. Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Nintendo Switch. I'll open that up in just a second, but we still have this whole box to look through. Open this up so you guys can see. There it is, the Master Sword. A very wild version of the Master Sword by the looks of it. Let's take it out of its plastic. Here we go guys, there it is. £90 worth of Master Sword right there. And of course, later on in 2017, we also got a remake of my favourite Mario Kart game ever, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which I absolutely loved, and I loved playing this with all my friends who had also picked up a Switch. But the best game of the year for me that year came out right at the end of the year, and of course that is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. If you haven't guessed already, I'm a huge fan of the Xenoblade series, and this one did not disappoint. It's kind of different to the other two. It's much more story focused than Xenoblade X. In that sense, it's a lot more like the first game, but it's not quite as serious as the first game either. I really like the style that they went for with this one. I still have the DLC, the Torna DLC to play. I haven't got round to it yet, but hopefully that's something I'll get round to playing in 2020.
We'll show you what me and Pyra are made of. Take this!
Anyway, that's it for my memories from 2017. An amazing year, as I'm sure you'll agree. Now let's take a look at 2018. 2018 was another fantastic year for the Switch. A lot of games came out that I was really looking forward to, including Steins Gate Elite, which is a really cool update of the visual novel that I used to love on the PlayStation Vita. This one also includes all of the anime cutscenes as well, which is really cool. As well as that, of course, Smash Bros Ultimate also came out this year. Amazing game. Still haven't finished the story mode though. There was also Pokemon, Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. They were really fun. There was the Spyro trilogy, which I first got on the PS4, but when the Switch version came out, I traded the PS4 one in and picked it up on the Switch instead. Some of my favourite games of all time. Iconoclasts also came out that year. It's a game that I haven't properly played yet, but it was one of the first games that I ever picked up from Limited Run. So it's quite a special game to me, and the fact that it's all made by one person is really amazing as well, and it really motivates me to want to make more games in the future. And of course, like I mentioned in the last section, Xenoblade 2 Torna, which, as you can see, is still factory sealed. So that was just a few Switch games that I was really excited to get in 2018. As well as that, for my birthday I also bought myself PlayStation VR, which was the first time that I'd personally owned a VR system that I could call my own. And welcome to my review of this thing here, the PSVR. So I'm going to do the entire video with this thing on my head. Not really, but here is my review of the PlayStation VR. And I got a little bit carried away and picked up loads of great games for it. I absolutely love the PSVR. In fact, these days, it's one of the only reasons that I turn the PS4 on. I had so much fun playing games like The Inpatient, which is a spin-off of the Until Dawn series, I think. Really, really cool horror game. There's also the Rick and Morty game, Virtual Reality, which is just hilarious. Really love that one. The Persistence, one of the scariest games I've ever played. This is the first time that the atmosphere really got to me, and I had to just stand still and walk away from where I was supposed to go because it was just too scary. And talking about scary games as well, another game that scared me is Resident Evil 7 for VR. Really, really cool experience, but unfortunately it doesn't work very well on the original PS4, so that's why, if you can see here, that's why I picked up the PS4 Pro. And I got the God of War edition, and I got God of War as well, which is an absolutely incredible game. Definitely one of the best games of the year and one of the best games of the decade. Really amazing game, God of War. Another game that I really loved in VR that year is Super Hot VR. Really, really fun game. It makes you feel like an action movie hero, where you're sort of dodging the bullets in slow motion and firing at people and grabbing weapons off them. Really, really cool experience. And Farpoint as well, you can also see up here I picked up the aim controller for it. So I had a lot of fun playing on VR that year. But my game of the year for 2018 has to go to Octopath Traveler, which is a game that I still haven't completed, but I'm still telling myself that I'm not going to pick up another RPG until I finish it. This is the Wayfarer's edition here that comes in a really nice book with a little pop-up scene, and I'll show you a little clip of me unboxing this when I got the game. I was very, very excited for it. There we go. Okay, there's a little clip there on the side. Oh, here we go. I was watching someone else's unboxing, but when I got to this point I just stopped because this looks absolutely amazing. And there's loads of them as well. I just thought there was one, but this is actually amazing. I'm not sure how this first one unfolds, I'll have to look into that. Everything's just flat. Let's see what else we've got here. Wow, that's so cool. There's a pirate ship sort of thing. Oh, it's amazing, I love it. Oh, this is the main one. Look at the way this folds out. Wow, that one's really nice as well. Some huts. So cool. I love this. 2018 also marked the year that I started doing weekly YouTube videos. And I'm kind of surprised that I've managed to keep it up so long, and I'm definitely looking forward to going into 2020 and keeping it up for another year. I've had so much fun, and I feel like I've come such a long way in such a short amount of time doing weekly videos. It's really picked my channel up. My subscriber count has just been steadily growing ever since I decided to do that, and I've met some amazing people, which I'll get to in 2019. And that brings us up to today in 2019, and what an incredible year it's been. One of my favourite memories from this year has to be going to Play Expo Manchester. Not only did I have an amazing time, but I got to meet so many amazing YouTubers, and the video I did for it I'm really, really proud of as well. I'll show a bit of it now and I'll link it in the description so you can go and watch the entire thing if you want. Hello, so we're here today at Play Expo Manchester. Let's go and have a look at the events and see what we can find. So the first reason here as to why the Play Expo in Manchester was one of the most amazing events ever, they had a fantastic range of retro games for sale. I'm just going to spend a few minutes looking through some of the stalls.
Let's take a little go over to Nick now and see what he picked up. He's one of the guys that we've met through YouTube.
So I've picked up loads of stuff today. All these Amiga floppy disks. I don't even have a system yet, but I'm very excited to get one. And a load of Game Boy stuff for my collection, and a few random bits and pieces. So I'm really looking forward to trying it all out.
Shut up and take my money. Shut up and take my money. I'm really small but really far away.
Really far away.
So as I just said there, the YouTubers panel was absolutely amazing. I'd highly recommend going and watching the full video. And speaking of YouTubers, I did manage to go to the YouTubers meetup. It was so great to meet so many people, and a few people even recognised me as well, which was very exciting. So thank you all, everyone that came to say hi to me. I really enjoyed meeting all of you. I managed to talk to quite a lot of YouTubers that I've been a fan of for a long time, so that was amazing, and I just made it into the group selfie. In terms of work as well, I feel like I've really come on this year. I've done a lot of really good work, and in terms of YouTube as well, I think I've really improved this year as well. Unfortunately, I didn't start making a new game like I thought I would by this point, but it's definitely something I'm looking into starting next year in 2020. I have so many different ideas, to be honest, I don't really know where to begin. And 2019 as well, just like last year, has been an amazing year for games. I've picked out just a few of my favourites here, and I'll tell you my overall game of the year as well. So Link's Awakening for the Switch, that was a really cool game. It's one of my favourite games on the original Game Boy, and I just had to get this really nice special edition which has this Game Boy Steelbook, which is just so cool. Really love Link's Awakening. It's one of my favourite Zelda games. Of course, Luigi's Mansion 3 as well. What a fun game this was. You can tell the amount of love and detail that they put into making this was just unparalleled for Nintendo. It really was. And I don't really know how they're going to follow it up. Like, the animation, the attention to detail, everything about this game is perfect. Really fun game. Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, an amazing game by Playtonic. I like this one a lot more than the first game they made, and I can't wait to see what they do in the future. This game is an amazing callback to some of my favourite games of all time, like the Donkey Kong Country series, and it even has a top-down overworld, kind of like the original Zelda games. The very controversial Sword and Shield also came out this year, and I did like it even though it was really easy and kind of straightforward. And two very special games came out at the start of this year, Kingdom Hearts 3 and Resident Evil 2 Remake. Both of these games were amazing. I still haven't quite finished Kingdom Hearts 3. To be honest, I was slightly let down by it, but Resident Evil 2 was incredible. And we actually spent a lot of money getting the special edition, and my girlfriend did a really fun unboxing of it, so take a look at this.
It's a poster of the
Museum.
Museum. Warning, written authorization required. Oh, there's the game behind it. Is it like an art book?
We can do some close-ups in a minute.
Interesting, just like loads of different screenshots of the game. Oh, and there's the key box. Oh, one's fallen. Got all the keys. Made in heaven. Huh. And the steelbook. And I can't get very good lighting. Oh, you can see Nick. Special soundtrack. Hey, hot stuff, where's your gun? And your torch, where's your torch?
And that would have been my game of the year if it wasn't for this, Astral Chain. What a crazy game it was. The atmosphere, the graphics, the character development, the story, everything about this game is just really cool.
Time to look for clues.
Don't worry, I prepared entertainment.
I still haven't quite finished it, I'm almost there, and I would really like to go back and finish it before the end of the year. So that brings us up to today, so I really hope you enjoyed watching this. It's been an incredibly long video, I know, so if you're still here right at the end, let me know in the comments below that you watched the entire thing. Like I said at the start, it was a very personal video for me, and to be honest, I don't really expect people to watch it all the way through, but if you did, thank you. Although the main reason I'm making this is just for me to look back on in the future and see what I thought of the past decade. And I can't wait for 2020. Hopefully the next decade brings as many interesting and exciting things as this one did. It was amazing for me to be able to go back and look at the past 10 years. I'm feeling really nostalgic at the minute, and it's amazing that you guys have been with me through all this as well. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's watched my videos over the past 10 years. Whether you're a new subscriber, whether you've been here right since the start, it means a lot to me, it really does. And I'm not going anywhere, so look forward to loads more amazing videos coming in the next 10 years. So thank you so much for watching, have a fantastic new year, and I'll see you again in 2020. Goodbye!